conclude a discussion on this matter that is still unresolved between Trade Union Congress, Organised Labour, and of course SSNIT. Now, you and I, who are still working and contributing to SSNIT, our money or our future is at stake, regardless of how this discussion goes. So, what is the political, damage this may have on the government ahead of the December 7th election? Knowing very well that this whole matter started with allegation of conflict of interest when Brand Champion's company came in. So Evans Mensah is head of a political day. So Evans, we've looked at the economic impact of this. I mean, the total government shutdown that we witnessed in the early hours of today, which eventually got resolved by me. I know that a lot of people won't go to work today. But politically, at the center of this whole controversy is the fact that the person who won the bid is a certain cabinet minister, politically exposed. So the issue of conflict of interest was a matter that was first raised, and then the other matter started, rolling in. To what extent can this hurt the MPP going to December 7th elections?
Significantly. I mean, if you look at the way this has traveled and the timelines, it first was raised and made an issue by Akufo-Addo, who, as you know, is a politician.
Right.
And it became an issue between himself and another politician, in this case, Brand Champon. So it was first a political issue before the Organised Labour joined it, right? Although, of course, as we know, the Organised Labour had 4 members on the SSNIT board. We didn't hear, at least publicly, a protest from them until Akufo-Addo made it an issue. So instantly, from the very onset, this was set to become a political battle. But when Labour then joined, Labour took the side of Akufo-Addo on this particular matter. And you just have to look at the number of public sector workers that we have.
Exactly.
They are significant. And they can tilt an election one way or the other. And that is where the issue is. So just imagine all the more than 700,000 workers across the country who today have decided not to work and what they are thinking, because they would have been communicated to on Friday by their leadership about why they embarked on this strike. Why? Because government has been obstinate. Government had decided to ignore the warnings from Labour. And Labour told them that if you go ahead with this, you're going to call a strike. We're going to ask our members to lay their tools. And government, in essence, went to Parliament, the minister went to Parliament and said, in spite of that threat, we're going to continue. That doesn't speak well in an election year. It's not even an election year only. This is just 4 months with major elections. For the middle-class floating voter who is part of this huge number of workers, these things matter to them.
Right.
And this can actually help somebody make up their minds about an incumbent government. So it definitely has serious political and electoral ramifications. Also considering that it's about Brand Champon, who himself is a cabinet
and a member of
minister,
Parliament. Yes.
a member of Parliament. And so what did Labour say? Labour says they do not want SSNIT to sell the stakes at all. But remember, this is not how it started. The original fight was really about the politically exposed individual buying state assets.
Exactly.
But as they deliberated over the issues, they then came to the conclusion that even if he withdraws, we do not want the sale. Then, if you move it away from the political players involved, as in Akufo-Addo and Brand Champon at the beginning, and you even focus on their substantive demand now, which is don't sell it.
Exactly.
SSNIT has said they won't sell it. You have to look at the management of SSNIT and the board. The current individual who occupies the top hierarchy of SSNIT management is who? Is the son of Osafo
Malfo, the senior minister.
Exactly. He is a politically exposed individual. You cannot separate him from the governing party.
Absolutely.
And then you go to the board. Majority of those on the board were appointed by the president.
Including the board chair.
Including the board chair. And so you've heard UTAC say, we want them away. When the UTAC makes that call, it is a call that is directed at the appointing authority, which is the president. So however you look at it, however you slice and dice this, it just falls squarely within the political arena. And that only has one implication for you. It will damage your chances of winning an election if you're an incumbent government.
So how does government come out of this?
Well, they have done...
To present, a posture that says that we are not taking state assets. Perhaps whatever happened was as a result of somebody going through the due process and coming on top. This is rule of law at work. Perhaps they failed to look at the political implication of the action that they were taking. So what can government do to come out of this unhurt?
It was bad enough that Brian Champon was attempting to buy, but the government had made it immeasurably worse by the way they've allowed this to snowball into a point where it became impossible for them to continue, right? And I think the nail in the coffin, as far as this implication, the political implication is concerned, was what the minister did on the floor. Right. Remember, until the minister went to the floor and said, listen, although the pensions regulator had called for the documents, I can tell you that we've given them the go-ahead to continue. Until he said that, this had been treated as, this is a SSNIT decision.
Exactly.
And so leave it to SSNIT to decide. But when the minister got involved on the floor of Parliament, it became, okay, so this, after all, is a government decision. And government supports it, right? And then what then happens is, you allowed Brian Champon himself to decide that I am withdrawing the bid. That was the first inclination that things were unraveling. Exactly. I think that was a monumental error in sending a signal, because you asked the question, how does government repair this?
Exactly.
I think that the damage has significantly been done. It'll be difficult to explain to anybody that the termination of the process shows good faith. Because Brian Champon withdrew, assuming that the president from the beginning himself had issued a statement asking SSNIT to terminate the process. You take it out of the hands of Brian Champon. That would have carried more leverage, more weight in terms of convincing people that you meant well than allow this to snowball to... So what if Brian Champon didn't withdraw? What would have happened? Are you suggesting that they would have gone on anyway? So I think that's where they lost the opportunity. That's where they lost a significant opportunity to show to us that, yes, we are listening, government, which is a point of view, right? This doesn't show that. You could have levied us to say, oh, we had the complaints. And I think this is the thing, this is the problem. They boxed themselves into a political arena. It's because the initial complaint came from an individual from the NDC. Yeah. It became difficult for the incumbent government to say we are pulling away. If you're pulling away because of
giving up,
because Okudito said it, that's how they perceived it. But immediately you saw civil society join. Immediately you saw Organised Labour join. That's when the signal should have hit them. Exactly. That it's time to pull the plug. And either the president should have said it, the minister should have said it. Remember, the president asked the minister to meet them.
Yeah.
And when they met
the president actually met them.
Exactly.
And when I spoke to Abraham Kumsen on this show last week, I mean, we are yet to verify this information that at that meeting, the president made it clear that, I mean, this is a SSNIT decision, and that whatever decision SSNIT has taken, he has no business asking them to go back on that decision. And he felt that, I mean, he felt they were, for want of a better word, they were not treated right at that meeting with the president at the Jubilee House. That's the reason why he said that he was not going to honor any other meeting to resolve this matter at the Jubilee House. Yeah.
So that was the line of government, that this is a SSNIT decision. Leave SSNIT and this board to handle this. And so he says the minister should meet them subsequently. They met them, and then they began some consultations.
Exactly.
Only for the ministers to show up on the floor last week. And remember, what triggered this nationwide Organised Labour strike was a minister's pronouncement.
Exactly. It's the MPA. They claimed that the MPA had given SSNIT the all clear to go ahead, and that, you know, pushed them to take this tough decision. But even before you went 30 seconds, so does this open government up for all manner of demands and agitations as we head towards the elections?
You would see.
Because clearly some vulnerability has been identified.
So just pay attention to the press conference by Organised Labour today. They're asking SSNIT to come and brief them on the state of their pensions. What would this do? One thing is clear, that we know government is always in arrears when it comes to pensions. So at the end of the month when this briefing happens, you will see Organised Labour going back to government, now even more insistent that government should pay up the arrears. So definitely demands will go up. The negotiations about base pay for next year, the minimum wage, the other worker groups that are already agitating over conditions of service, all will intensify on the back of this, because members will say, government isn't listening to you. They nearly sold these state assets to a politically exposed individual for $61 million. If they can do that, then they deserve no sympathy on these matters. And I guess that is where the challenge is, because of the signal it sends.
Right. We'll chew more on this matter in the hours. Top Story News Now will have more to unpack on this matter.